We're talking about online resources for multilingual writers, and I would think that everyone here agrees that a lot of our sessions are with multilingual writers, and in many cases we talk about some sentence level issues and concerns, and we want to find the ways to not only provide the correct answer, right, or different options, but also find the ways to let writers find their own answer to their question on their own, right? So this is what this workshop is about. And I'm only talking about the resources that I personally use myself as an ESL writer, and the resource that I show to my students during the sessions. So we know that there are many different resources out there, but something that I use during the session and I feel that it's helpful. And recently I've been talking about these resources to my ESL opt-in student, and he was very excited and he said, "Oh, you know so many cool websites." Yes, I do. Yeah. So let's take a look at them together. So I'll be talking about Corpora, online dictionaries, academic phrase bank, and automatic writing evaluation tools. So the format will be first show and tell. So I'll show you how these resources are used. Then you'll get a chance to practice using them on your own. And we'll also talk about pedagogy behind that. All right, so let's start with Corpora. On this screen you cannot really see very well, but yeah. So have you heard about a corpus or corpora before?
Just this morning when you said it to us, yeah.
Yeah, so a corpora is a plural for a corpus, and a corpus is a large collection of texts. So let's imagine that we collected 100 argumentative essays from Chinese learners of English. So those 100 papers, that collection of texts, would be a corpus. Of course, you can create your own corpus, collect all those papers, but fortunately there are so many corpora that are available online, and we can definitely make use of that. So how a corpus would work? So since you have that all collections of text in the computer, right, you would type a word or phrase in a search bar, and after that the tool will show you all the examples of the use of this word or phrase in that corpus. So that's how it would look like, and here you cannot see, but there is a word homework, and one line is called a concordance line. So basically it shows how homework is used throughout the corpus. So you can see the actual sentences with this word. So there are many corpora out there, but the ones that I personally like a lot is Corpus of Contemporary American English, or COCA for short. It's super popular. And also there is COCA word and phrase. It's the same corpus, but the interface is different. So let me show you how it works. Yeah, so this is the website. Here is the space that I talked about, right, where you can type the word, and I'll use the example of the verb suggest. I'm using suggest because it usually takes a very unusual structure, so you would use I suggest that we should, right? So that someone should is pretty uncommon, right? So someone might think, oh, maybe I should say, I suggest you to go somewhere, right? So let's see how it works. Suggest, you would type it over here, and then find matching strings. Okay, so it shows how frequently a word is used, and then we would click on it to see the context. So over here, suggest is highlighted, And you can see all the sentences in which this word is used. So suggest carrying, suggest that district leaders should, right? So you can read through those examples and kind of identify the patterns of use of this particular verb, right? And here we can see that where every example is coming from. So from academic English, right, academic corpus. Later on, okay, it's all academic, I think. Maybe it also shows that it's used in the academic settings a lot, right? So basically, if we look through those examples, we won't notice suggest someone to do something, right? So that's a way to kind of see how a particular word is used in the context, right? And also, from my experience, I've noticed that ESL students appreciate having sentences or some context rather than saying, okay, use this verb this way. Well, I want to be exposed to something to be able to know this word better, right? How it's used. All right. So you can do that with one word, or you can do that with a phrase. For example, at the same time. At the same time, in the same time, on the same time. Well, which one is correct? So maybe because we don't really remember which preposition goes at the beginning, we could do the same time and see. Okay. And see how it's used. All right. At the same time, at the same, at the same time. All right, well, it's at the same time. Okay, so those are just a couple of examples, but again, because it shows so many instances and so many sentences, you can kind of figure out how a specific word is used. So this is one of the corpora that I talked about, and the other one from the PowerPoint presentation over here is Kolka word and phrase. So they are slightly different because the first one that I showed you has tons and tons of examples. So if we go back here, context. So it goes find sample up to 1,000, right? So you can examine the context as much as you want. The second corpus I'm talking about, and I open it over here, has a limited number of examples, and it also does not allow you to search a phrase, but it has its own perks. So let me show you something. A corpus can also be used to identify whether a certain word is more formal or informal, right? So, of course, everyone wants to write academically, with very good vocabulary, right? But what if we don't know whether a certain word is formal or informal? So can I use bad or awful? Well, let's find out. Okay, bad, let's search it. And here it shows the examples, so I will choose this. So this stands for part of speech, and J means adjective, right? Bad person, so bad is an adjective. So we click on it, and that's what we see. Okay. So first of all, again, it will show you different sentences in which a certain word is used. So very bad, about, all, bad, bad, bad. So again, you can examine the lines and see how the word is used. But also over here, it shows how frequently this word is used in a given register, right? So we have a spoken register, right? Fiction, magazine, newspaper, academic, right? And if we examine this graph, we can see that, well, it's quite frequent in spoken language, right? You would say that in conversation. But when it comes to academic writing, it's almost not used at all, right? So that could be a clue for us to see whether it's a good idea to use this word in our paper, or maybe find some other synonym. And actually, to find a synonym, you don't really have to go far away. This website is pretty cool because over here, it provides you some synonyms. Of course, as in the case of thesaurus, you should be very critical about those examples and those synonyms, but it has a pretty wide range of synonyms and different shades of meaning. So you can look through those and see whether you want to use maybe something from here. And let's imagine that you decided, okay, maybe not bad, but deficient. Okay, let's click on it, and it will show you how deficient is used in the sentences. Yeah. So also it shows you the collocates. In other words, what a given word can come together, right? And deficient skill, deficient area, deficient diet, iron, etc. Right? So it gives you some idea of what are the words that you can use together with this one. So it's a pretty cool website, and we can see that deficient is used more in academic settings rather than in any other settings, right? And also there is one cool thing about word and phrase corpus. You can click over here, sort, and it will kind of sort the results. So, and then end, so I think it's, yeah, that would be in alphabetical order. So, all right. So now let's move on to dictionaries, and it's a self-explanatory area, right? But there are different types of dictionaries, right? And we should be mindful of those. So there can be learners' dictionaries, bilingual, and collocation dictionaries. So I would say that bilingual is something that we definitely know what it is, right? So from one language to another, right? And I would not say that multilingual writers would have problems with finding that, so they would use that a lot. That's why I have only one link for word reference. So if someone asks you, oh, which dictionary, which online dictionary would you recommend for bilingual translation? Well, maybe this one. It's nice. And it also has examples and translations of examples. But any other would be fine. Then there can be learners' dictionaries. Have you heard about learners' dictionary? So a learner dictionary would be a dictionary specifically created for language learners. And in this case, it won't be bilingual, it will be monolingual. But the definitions would be simplified. So in a regular kind of dictionary, maybe wording will be more complex, while in learner's dictionary, it's simplified and straight to the point. So a couple of dictionaries that I personally like to use, Oxford Learner's Dictionary and Longman Learner's Dictionary. So, oops. And these are the links that are clickable, and I'll share this presentation definitely. Okay. Yeah, so again, we can go back to suggest, right? And here, it will not only provide the definition, but it will also show you the possible structures, right? Suggest something to somebody. Suggest itself, suggest that, suggest doing, suggest that, right? Not suggest to do something, right? So that would be another way to kind of show what can go after a verb and which structures are used, right? Okay, has anyone used Oxford Dictionary before? No? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It also shows some collocations, like some phrases, fixed phrases. And speaking about that, there are specific collocation dictionaries, right? So again, what this word can go with, right? What can go before it, what can go after it. And I really like this Oz dictionary. Let me see if I have some examples here. Okay. Yeah, so if we imagine that a student comes and they have a sentence and they want to use research in the sentence, but they think that there should go something before it, right? So which research? How can we characterize that research? So let's see. Okay, so research can be detailed, in-depth, painstaking, basic, original, further research, groundbreaking, pioneering research, right? So maybe instead of saying, oh, new research, you can say pioneering research or something like the first research we have. Again, like there are different adjectives that you can use with research. A startling piece of historical research. If you want to make research countable, right? You cannot say researches, right? But a piece of research, pieces of research, well, yeah. Carry out research, conduct, do research. Okay, research plus verb. Research demonstrates, indicates, proves that, reveals that. So kind of some collocations that you can use, and that's a wonderful way to expand your vocabulary and learn some new words. Because again, multilingual writers want that. We need more words. Yeah. And also, if you want to look at research as a verb, right? To research something, okay, research carefully, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, a very nice tool. All right. So that was the show and tell part of this part. The next resource we're talking about is Academic Phrase Bank, and it's a great resource because it provides the list of phrases that are most commonly used in academic writing. So if someone comes to work on research papers and they have all those sections, right? Introduction, what goes into introduction, right? What goes into literature review, methods, discussion, right? And they really struggle with the meta language, right? They struggle with the language that they can use to say, okay, this is the structure of my paper, but how do I say that, right? So let's take a look at the Academic Phrase Bank. Okay, so this is how it looks like, and basically, maybe we can go to introducing the work. If we go here, okay, if you're establishing the importance of the topic for the world or society, these are some of the phrases that you can use. X is fundamental to. X has a pivotal role in, right? If you are for example, highlighting a controversy in your field, a much debated question is whether one major issue in early research concerned, right? So it definitely, that would have to do with the sentence level concerns because it provides the vocabulary, but at the same time, it also has to do with the global concerns because someone can ask you, so what should I talk about in my introduction, right? So what are some of the things that go into introduction? And it has to do with the research paper, right? Like with the formal research paper. Well, you can do all those things. You can establish the importance of the topic. You can, and in a different way, you can provide the synopsis of the literature. You can highlight a problem. So basically, it also gives you the possible structure for your introduction, right? And also, it will show you how to indicate the gap, right? What hasn't been done before. So yeah, it also has to do with some global context as well. So this is a wonderful website, and it has sections as in a regular research paper, right? introducing work, referring to sources, describing methods, results, findings, conclusions, right? And here, there's also some additional language, right? If you want to be critical, if you want to be cautious, right? Some hedged language. So if you want to define terms, what you would use. Again, all the language that you need. All right, so that was Academic Phrase Bank. And again, all the resources are over here. So Academic Phrase Bank is on the website as well. And the last set of resources that I would like us to talk about is the academic writing evaluation tools. Basically, those are online proofreading tools, and you might have heard about Grammarly, maybe. Mm-hmm. So Grammarly would be a perfect example of those tools. The one that I like a lot, and there are many of them, Grammarly, PaperRater, Language Tool, Grammark, Spell Checker Plus, they're all slightly different, and I feel that if someone uses them all together, you will get a very big picture and feedback on different aspects. So I like PaperRater a lot. Okay, I'll just do this. I can actually go there from this page. Okay, PaperRater, and you will use that tool absolutely free. So use now free, you don't have to register or anything. And you would just paste the text over here. And I prepared a paper from an ESL student, and so that we could see how it works. Okay, we copied and pasted the paper, and also there is a particular limit of words, so I guess at some point it will tell you that you have to split your paper in parts. You indicate the educational level of the author, then you click that you've read the terms, and then get the report. It will take a couple of seconds, and we'll see which feedback it provides. All right, so this is how it looks like. This is our paper, but with some additional highlights. In August 21st, 21. Okay, it suggests us, instead of using preposition in, to use on. Would we agree with that? Okay. Yeah. All right. We have the negative opinions for Brazil's government. Of Brazil's government. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Okay, here, the Olympic Committee. Okay, so those were some of the things that multilingual writers struggle a lot, right? Prepositions, articles, definitely, right? So that would be a nice proofreading tool to start with, right? The economy of Brazil is recession. Is a recession? Well, it doesn't really solve the problem, right? And it also shows that not everything that's highlighted would have the correct suggestions, right? Sometimes it highlights because it sees some problem, but it just doesn't really give you the right solution. So, and sometimes it highlights as if there is a problem, but there is no problem, right? So, for that reason, this tool is kind of a good start for your proofreading, but you have to be very critical with the suggestions and those highlights. You have to analyze everything before making any changes. Okay. So this is basically how it works, and I usually recommend my students, especially who come to the Writing Center and they say, well, I want to work on my grammar only, nothing else, right? So I would let them know that maybe you should use this tool before you come to the Writing Center, because it will take care of those like basic things like articles, right? Because, well, we know that we should use them, but we just forget to use them, right? So it will show you, okay, no, here, don't forget about that. So if this basic stuff is taken care of, we can work on something more advanced and something related more to the meaning, right? Also, it has some interesting features over here. it will provide a summary of your mistakes. It will also show which bad phrases you're using. It's not really showing here, but for example, if writers overuse some informal features like bad, good, or awful, it will show over here. It will enumerate those things. So kind of you can go through like additional analysis that this tool provides. So how well you're using your transitional phrases, right? They are important. Okay, very, very nice. Sentence length, right? We don't want our sentences to be like super short, but at the same time one paragraph long, right? So it will actually count words for you and will let you know if you're using many short or many long sentences. So the use of passive voice, we want to kind of avoid using passive voice if it's possible, of course, right? Sentence beginnings, so you can just go on and on with those things, but and you should really be interested in writing in order to go through those things, right? Because if you don't care about the paper, well, yeah, but just some interesting thing. I usually, and also at the end it provides you with a grade. But yeah, but it's important to let the writers know that it's only about style and grammar, and it has nothing to do with their content, and they can still get A+ because they're brilliant. Yeah. So sometimes when I introduce this tool during my tutoring session, and we go to the section of grade, and writers have almost heart attack because they see a C, and I have to let them know why it's not a problem. Yeah, and sometimes it just highlights some things that are not a problem. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite tools, but there are also, as I said, many other ones, and you can play around with those. Okay. So my first question for you would be, in which cases would we use this or that tool? And to specify that question, so when would a certain tool be effective and when not really? And first of all, for whether it will be effective for grammar, for word choice, for punctuation, for style. So from these categories that we have so far, which tool would be used for talking about grammar? Kind of some grammatical patterns.
I think the paper reader might be nice just to track it because it's color coded in that way, and then from there you can show them other resources like the corpus.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so paper reader would be used for grammar. Word choice, maybe to some extent, like many of those writing evaluation tools would be for word choice, right? Punctuation, also, I guess they would catch those things, as well as style. If we go back to corpora, would they work for grammar? Right, would they, I guess? Yeah, because we were looking at suggest, right? It showed us the patterns. Okay, academic phrase bank, what would be that for? Yeah, for style, yeah.
Maybe even level of proficiency in English, because if you have if it's more academically written, then your proficiency seems better.
Yeah, so that would be the other thing to consider, right? So, exactly. So a student maybe in so the level of proficiency, first of all, and also maybe the academic level. So if it's a freshman composition, well, they won't really talk about methods, right? How they conducted research. So maybe academic phrase bank would not be the best choice, but all other resources will be absolutely fine, right? So yeah, definitely level of proficiency. If the writers are more advanced, well, the use of corpora, like kind of using corpora is quite challenging, I would say, because there are so many features and you should really know and understand how that works. So maybe just going at the lower level, just going to a dictionary would be fine, right? But if you're more advanced and you want some more examples, something more advanced, right? Maybe use a corpus. Yeah, also when we consider the stage of writing, right? Which tools would we use and which ones we won't. If we talk, for example, about someone who's bringing the last draft, well, maybe we would use Paperator. But if they're just in the process of writing, their draft is super rough, well, you would even not talk about those tools at all because they're just trying to put their ideas on the paper, right? So we should keep those things in mind as well. Also, we should keep in mind how much time it takes, right? So if you're trying to explain how to use a corpus, well, you have to take some time to do that, or even how a Paperator works, right? So it will take some time from your session. And if you feel that just like not using any tools at all will be fine in this situation, yeah, that's okay. Because you should really take some time and explain how it works rather than, okay, use that at home, right? Yeah. Yeah, as I said, I'm using those a lot during my sessions. And I can share how I do that, and we can actually talk about your ideas. Okay, we have all those tools, right? So how would we integrate those into our session, right? How would we show those tools so that writers could use them later on their own?
Well, for a couple of writers who have been looking for sources to research, and they said, well, I've never done this kind of bibliography before, I've never done this and that. I'm not only giving them our handout, I've said, hey, let me show you something. You know, the important thing with any tool is to check its work and don't just take it blindly, but here's BibMe. It can do APA, it can do MLA. Yeah. You could look for the article let's say you find the article somewhere that doesn't make the citation for you. This is a good shot at finding it. I've briefly mentioned Grammarly before. I've briefly mentioned the Merriam-Webster's site and thesaurus.com, and even if you drop synonym in a word into Google, the first entry lists synonyms, talks about the history of the word, the frequency of use, stuff they don't care about, but it does it. And I've shown them these things, and I said, look, understand this is supplemental, and there's no substitute for you actually checking it over.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's true. Kind of see what the writer needs, right? And based on that, you would introduce that tool. Because in some cases, they say that explicitly, well, I need something, right? Okay, here you are, right? And yeah, so that would be when they need that, you would introduce that. And also, kind of what I'm doing, especially for corpora or dictionaries, and maybe it works for me because I'm an ESL writer as well, but I would say, okay, this phrase doesn't really work, so let me check something. And as if I'm just checking that for myself, but basically I'm providing a model for them how they could do that, right? So yeah, just saying, okay, let's take a look at that together and open the website and just use it, and then, okay, so have you used this before? No? Okay, this is how it works. So they would see that, well, it is useful, and then you will provide the explicit explanation how to use that, right? Okay, any other ideas? Yeah, and anytime a writer would say that they want to work on grammar, I would, specifically on grammar, nothing else. It's my last draft, I just want grammar. I would say, but have you tried Grammarly, or have you heard about those things? Maybe, I don't know. So let's do that together. And I would take their paper and use that tool.
This is about to make all the accounting papers that are about to hit so much easier to field.
It's true.
Because they're like 3 paragraphs long, and it's always about the grammar for kids.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. But again, we should not just say, okay, there's that tool, but warn them about all the possible pitfalls.
Right.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. All right. Any final thoughts? Any conclusions? Mm-hmm.
I suspected in our training, and it seems to me to have been mostly borne out, that a lot of times one of the problems that a multilingual writer will have is basically confidence more than what's actually wrong.
Yeah.
I've had most who have come to me who said, "Oh, this is garbage, it's terrible, I get nothing." I said, "No, you're fine. I mean, yes, you're tripping over the subject-verb agreement or the articles, but you know what? Native speakers will trip over that. English is hard, you know. But I would say 9 times out of 10, the actual what they're trying to say is fine, and it will even flow well. So
yeah, definitely bring them some confidence. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I've found that it helps to tell them, hey, I use this stuff too. If I get stuck on slang, I'll drop word synonym into Google. I have a subscription to Grammarly. I look at this, I look at that, because nobody has all of this in their skull at all times.
That's true. Yeah, there's the phrase, nobody's a native speaker of academic English.
That's so true.
To find the links to those resources, you can just go to our Writing Center website. Well, on the main page, you would see helpful resources, or writing resources, and then helpful links. So that should be a drop-down menu. So what I have over here, it made it, I guess, I don't know, a smartphone version, but the website doesn't look like that. So if you Google Writing Center, GMU, one of the drop-down menus over here would be writing resources, and then if you click helpful links, it will take you to this page. And if we go to grammar, style, and punctuation, it will show you the links. So corpora and dictionaries, corpora and dictionaries would cover what we just talked about. That would be it for us. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
So useful.
No,
Wonderful. Yeah.